everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fire It Up with CJ show.
Woo!
Woo!
If you've ever wanted to live a more intentional life, then do we have the Power of Intention show for you. Today we'll talk about living intentionally, how to do so, what it looks like, and why it can be so powerful. That plus we'll talk about reinvention workshops, the miracle of estrogen.
Maybe you should read those when I send them over to you, Michael.
I did, but why do I have the word essential dangling on its own?
Essential oils.
I don't know why it got cut off. So for you, Misha, the miracle of estrogen, essential oils, the doer, the two-step dance, intentions in bedtime, kindness and the cold, mice and love, birdseed gone bonzai, the power of a mission statement, a mission of love, and what in the world is the woohoo 8? So welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to shine?
I am. Woohoo! Do I have to do 8 of them?
No, that's a whole exercise we'll get to, I guess, in a little bit or whenever you desire. Before we do that, all right, let's see. Where are we going to start today? What's the most fun topic you have?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know okay, essential oil. That was really fun. I learned all about, uh, this is the first time I've ever had to, how long have I been doing the show? Maybe 7 years. The first time in 7 years that I basically was 15 minutes into the show. I'm like, okay, let's wrap it up.
Wow.
I know, is that sad? But what I wanted to find out, I actually found out the next day, and it was about essential oils, which is aromatherapy, and we have we know lavender is actually makes us feel calm, and there's certain types of smells that make us know. You don't like lavender?
Lavender has the opposite effect on me. We had an essential oil expert on last year, and I was asking about this. And certain people, and I guess I was wired growing up for ADD, it actually acts as a stimulant. And so I stay away from lavender. So Jessica's one of her favorite places on earth is this giant lavender farm on Maui. And
Oh,
and if she brought me there, I was kicking and screaming because within 30 minutes I was just a wreck.
wow, that's interesting. Okay, so she
But
was.
for most people, for 80, 90% of people, lavender is one of the greatest things on earth.
Well, I learned something new that I hadn't learned about essential oils, and I don't know if the person that you interviewed told you about this, but it's basically we're all made of 5 different elements. This is the Ayurvedic model, which then combine together to create our doshas, our spiritual kind of blueprint. And then what happens is that we have like either kapha, vata, or pitta. So like
Our
kapha,
disposition.
yeah. So I'm kind of a mixture um, my dosha is vata, which is a combination of air and ether, for example. And so there are certain things in the Ayurvedic model, just like the Chinese model, of ways that you stimulate air, and some of where you kind of calm down air if you're reaching the kind of shadow sides of this. So anyhow, I didn't realize, and of course I should figure this out, but I just don't think about these things, that plants have vibrations. And so just like anything in the world, actually, this cup, this mouse, it all is made up of those 5 elements, and then also has a dosha, like a pitta vata kappa idea. And so there are plants that actually have, and you can tell by the look of the plants, like some like bluebells that go down, they are purple, the color and then the shape of the plant gives a sense of whether that plant is a pitta vata kind of plant or what element it resonates with. Is
So if
this
I
what you
jump
learned?
in for a sec.
Yeah.
No, I haven't learned this. It's fascinating. Although I'm guessing what this means because we know this certainly, like even when you make a fruit smoothie, for example, there are fruits and plants that are going to bring you up, not meaning emotionally, but they're going to bring up energy in you. There are plants and fruits and vegetables that are going to root you down and make you feel more stable. For instance, one thing I can't do as a Vata windy type person, technically Vata, what is it? cop,
You're Vata Pitta, right?
thank you, Pitta, yes, wind and fire, is I would have on Maui, I found this out very quickly, a smoothie one or two times I found, well, I'm out of kale, I'll throw some sprouts in here. And
Oh.
you think, well, what's wrong with sprouts? Well, sprouts are very thin and spindly and reach for the heavens.
Oh.
They're spinny, they're vata. And so if you make a vata smoothie, you get out of balance, what you're calling the dark side, and you wonder why you feel completely
I'm like
spun out.
totally spacey. I don't know what's going on. Where are my car keys? Like, as a fellow Pitta Vata, this is what it looks like for me. But yeah, so this is the same thing, and so the Ayurvedic medicine. This woman is head of the Ayurvedic Center at the Chopra Center, and she was Deepak Chopra's Center of Health and Healing or whatever, and so just like when you eat certain foods to actually keep with the vibrational resonance of your dosha or your four elements working in congruent and
Keep it in
harmony,
balance.
keep it in balance, you do the same thing with the scents. And so she has this whole Ayurvedic essential oil book that actually explains all the different, like if you're pitta and you need to calm down, use this combination of different things. So patchouli oil. I'll give you some of the ones for me. I don't have all of them. Oh, I do have all of them because like patchouli for someone who's a pitta vata, like patchouli is one of those ones. Do you know that smell, patchouli?
Yeah, there were some kids who would wear it at school, I think, to
Yeah, a long
mask
time ago.
stuff that they were
Yeah,
smoking a long time
smoking
ago.
pot.
And it
E-
actually did not then. I don't know about now. I've done a lot of rewiring, but then that one, I had an aversion to patchouli as well. I don't have an aversion to many, but then it
Yeah,
was patchouli and now it's lavender.
yeah.
So,
Well, there's a whole bunch. Pink pepper, spike. Anyway, so I had this. So I went onto Amazon and bought all these different
oh,
oils, and it was so much fun. So that was my fun. How about you? What was your fun thing for this week?
well, and just to tag team off of that, which is, I love that we have a lot of greenery in our house. We have a lot of
Mm.
things growing, but the main thing we have growing, Jessica doesn't resonate with. And now I understand why. And that's tomato plants that surprisingly this fall have taken off. And by taken off, we have a vaulted ceiling and they're racing to reach the top of it.
You're kidding me.
It's
You have tomato plants inside of you're growing inside of your house?
Yes. Now we did this. Well, we didn't do this when we moved into an earthship, an off-the-grid home in Taos, New Mexico. It came with with tomato plants
Wow.
inside the house. Here we brought them in because the deer were eating them. So we put them into big planters, brought them in the house, and they've just taken off for the heavens. And I think
Wow.
it might be too spinny, too much Vata
Oh.
energy for Jessica. So that's something I'm going to look at. So fun thing for this week. I'm really excited. I'm finishing the week, maybe a little bit tired, but pretty strong. We're recording this on a Friday.
Hmm.
Be that for whatever the reason the cosmos worked out, this was the busiest week on the calendar. I've just laughed at it, but it's also a week that Jessica's been out of town.
Wait.
And so there's been a lot of intention setting, which we're going to get at both on how this whole trip looks like and how each day looks like. But
Wait,
I'm
what trip?
actually,
Wait, go back. What trip?
Jessica's taken a trip to visit her family on the East Coast.
Ah, okay, got it.
I've been solo,
Okay, got it.
which usually means that I'm wasted by the end of the week and I've lost 5 or 10 pounds. Literally, the last time she went to Taiwan, she came back, I looked gaunt. And so I'm doing everything I can this time to take care of myself. But I feel like on some level, I'm getting a little stronger each day. And so that's been really exciting to me that I'm so intentional about what I'm doing right now that I'm feeling better and better and better. So I went out for a bike ride because it was yesterday and it's really cold here right now. Although compared to the winter, it's not that cold. It was 36, I think, was the high. And so it was a snow and ice mountain bike ride.
Wow.
And usually I'm going to like train, I'm going to crank, I'm going to go for it. And I said, no, that's not what your energy is calling for right now. Why don't you just be as loving and kind and gentle and just go at a fractional pace? Just enjoy yourself as best you can and go home. I set the intention of metering my energy. I went out and enjoyed some quality time in nature. And then I came out without burning the candle on both ends.
Interesting. So that the intention for you came is it both in kind of your working out area and then also your work life and getting all these shows? Is it both?
Every area. So the biggest intention for the week as how loving, kind, and gentle can I be to myself?
Mm,
Loving, kind, and gentle. If you were to strip away a layer of that, what's that functionally mean? It means watch your energy levels.
mm,
Don't push too hard. That is the biggest thing. Come through the week strong. Now, some workouts, it means that I've really toned down my outdoor run the day before. I really toned it down. That was, I think, maybe even colder. The ride, I toned down. In the gym, I'm going after it pretty good, and having some real fun with exercises. But I'm trying to listen. In the cold, the body is saying, don't work us too much, us, plural. Don't work us too much. We're not used to the cold yet. Go
mm.
nice and gentle. I know there's this workout to get done. I know your coaches said this, that, or the other. Be extra gentle. In the gym, it's nice and warm. Go play, have fun. In fact, if you want to do a little bit extra right now to help balance the spinniness at home/work, because there's so much coming, feel free to do it there. So the big picture intention is how well can I take care of myself?
Mhm.
And then how well can I take care of my environment? And
Mm.
I'm as successful maybe as I can be in the circumstance. I thought of putting it on the list of our shopping list here today. I didn't. My kitchen counter has exploded, but I clean it and then it explodes again and then I clean it. I'm just doing what I can with it. And I had birds go everywhere at one point because the hummingbirds have checked out. The winter birds are checking in.
You have a little green alien on the side of you. Did
Oh,
you tell
a
me to
little.
tell you when you have green aliens?
Yes, thank you.
I'll
So we
give
got
you a kind of
out
like this thing,
on
wherever
the
it is, okay?
that works with the birdseed gone bonsai, that green stuff that you saw in the background.
Yes.
Birdseed going everywhere.
Yes.
But just loving and kindness and reminding myself that each morning. So the intention, I say the mission is love. The mission in the morning is how intentionally can I love myself up? And how intentionally can I love up CJ? Can I love up Cindy, who I meet at the front desk at the gym? Can I love up the kitty cats and even the rescued micey, which we'll have to talk about? How much
Uh-oh.
can I love them up? Can I be intentional
Hmm.
with my energy and spread that love today?
You know what? So, of course, not surprising because we are kind of vibrating at some similar life path. I don't know how you describe our synchronicities, but I
And
had
we're
this.
both in red today.
They're both in red, completely coincidentally or not. I don't know. But we didn't talk to each other. We talked psychically to each other. So this morning, I did a meditation. My meditations have been so-so, like somewhat distracted, but kind of like mixed. Like what I notice sometimes is I go to a meditation retreat, which I did 2 weeks ago, and something big happens, and then there's a contraction, and then there's like a period of integration because once your kind of awareness opens, and there's a part of you that's like what, and then it's like integrates and comes back. Um, and so I think I'm still kind of going through this contraction, expansion. And I did a meditation today and I started doing my automatic writing. And I heard what you need to do is hang out and just read and rest. I feel
I
like I've
like
been
it.
kind of resting a lot. And I thought, well, how about writing? Because I'm supposed to get this piece in for this group that I'm part of. And it was like, well, after you read, maybe, but like just try to like read and rest. And and I think the wisdom of that automatic writing piece was that, there's this kind of contraction and, contraction, contraction, expansion, and your body is just trying to digest all of this kind of transformation. And I think when you have that kind of transformation, you have to rest because otherwise your body's like, I'm doing the best that I can. I'm going to get sick on you just so you'll like get in bed.
So you'll slow down, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm actually slowing down. So I'm kind of doing something very similar, which is to just slow down, which is not a pitta vata kind of constitution. It's all about doing, running around, doing, checking. You want me to be like a turtle? Yes.
I always pull out the, whoa, oh, turtle has now gone flying.
He's like, I don't like being around your Vata energy.
Is my
Bye.
one mascot over the last couple of years. When you first started doing these shows with me, I had a squirrel, but that was kind of Vata energy. And so I now go to the tortoise, more of a kapha, slow, grounded. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Don't need to worry. And so I pull out the turtle anytime I need, and when I'm coaching clients and I need to, I pull out the tortoise.
I totally had a client that I needed to do that with, and I think I overwhelmed him. And then when you're just excited and you're like, here's an idea, here's another thing, let me show you LinkedIn. And he's like, so if I were to do one thing, what would you recommend?
Poor guy.
I did feel bad for him.
Well, he got his money's worth.
He did. He got a lot of ideas. I don't think he got his money's worth, but he got a lot of ideas funneled at him. So, but I do think that it's something related to what you said about your working out. In my meditation, the other thing that I got was that in my meditation, I usually part of the guided meditation is to say, I surrender my ego and all sense of separation. That's something that you repeat over and over again. And what I got intuitively is I need to say, I am not the doer. Like there's something doing me. And I was working out, and today I took a spin class today, and I was like, okay, she said to go up to like 95, RPMs, and so I'm looking at 95, and then I'm like, oh, wait a second, I'm supposed to remember I'm not the doer. And I thought, okay, body, she said 95, but you're the doer, so just do what you want. And then every now and then I was trying not to look at the RPMs because I'd be like, and then try to get my feet to spin up or slow down. But it was interesting because when I did do my little audits and I looked down at the little speedometer, I was pretty much in the range and I wasn't looking at the speedometer. My body just knew what to do because I'm not the doer. So that was kind of a cool thing.
That's kind of cool. And it kind of fits in, I believe, with what I call the two-step dance.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, we've had a lot of guests on who talk about surrender. Surrender your will, surrender everything, surrender, surrender. And I'm a big fan of surrender. I've been hit with the 2x4 enough times by the universe. I surrender. And at the same time, what is it? Thy will be done. Have an intention. So you said, I'm not the doer. However, if you want to go to 95, here's what I'm looking for.
Right.
So you set an intention at the same time. So a lot of people who listen to this show and a lot of people call in for coaching say, I get the idea I'm supposed to surrender, but then how do I do anything?
Right.
Or can't I want to go someplace?
Right.
You wanted to get a workout. You wanted to roughly follow the instructor. So you put that out there and then you let it go. It's what I call the two-step dance of intention.
Yeah, I did. I thought, okay, I want to follow the instructions. And so I'm asking, if it be thy will, get me to 95. And I looked, and in the very beginning, I'm like, guess it's not the will of the doer. And then every now and then I'd be looking, I'm like, wow, I'm going over. Fascinating. I mean, it was just more just seeing with, if I just let the energy guide me, the energy do it without me thinking about doing it and just let it express whatever it wanted to do, it would do something. Sometimes it was under, sometimes it was over, sometimes it was spot on. And that's what I learned when I looked every now and then, which I tried not to, but it was so hard trying not to because I'm so...
No, it's fun.
It's when you're goal-oriented, which I think both of us are extremely goal-oriented. That's the pitta part. And so I'm like, I'm going to do this. The teacher's saying doing this. I want a good workout, so I'm going to do this. And then the surrender part's like, yeah, if your body's really tired, you've been working really hard, like just, and then I heard in my head, okay, 300 calories, 45 minutes. Whatever comes first, you're getting off this bike. even though I heard this in my head, even though the class actually ends later and it's weird to get up off this bike, you're going to get off this bike. And I thought, okay. So I just looked. It's like 45. I'm like, but I haven't gotten 300. It's like, all right, just get to 300. So I got to 300. I don't think I got to 300. I think it was 45. And then I was like, okay. I got off the bike. And then I said, bye. And it's awkward to get off. But then that was what my body was saying. I'm not the doer. That's what it said to do.
It's important to listen to that internal wisdom. It's so
Yeah.
important. And like I'm listening to my body right now, and I've had a record number of hours on this seat this week, and it's saying, that was good, Michael. I appreciate that. Not doing that next week, all right?
Okay, so how are you going to surrender into that's a really hard one, right? Because Jessica's still going to be gone, right? As of next week, right?
Yeah, she's still going to be gone. The way our coaching schedule works is we have some people that are on every other week versus every week. And however the universe lined it up, it queued up multiple because we don't regularly offer the every other week at this point. It queued up many of the other weekers on this because somebody would get sick, somebody would have this life or circumstance
Um,
that, and queued them all up this week
oh,
plus a few additional things that were just in the calendar. And so I've just, you laugh into it. So I have what I call, I break my day down in focus blocks.
hmm.
And focus blocks are hour chunks of time for your intense focus activity, usually Skype related. So preparing for an interview, that's not a focus block. The interview itself, that's a focus block.
Okay.
Loading the show, I can kind of do it hither nither, not a focus block, even though it takes some attention. Doing a Skype call with somebody, whether that's a friend for some reason, or me being coached, or me coaching, or maybe it's working with somebody in some other capacity. That's a focus block. So I like to be at no more than 4 a day. That doesn't mean I'm not preparing for an
And do they have to
interview
be
that can take hours.
consecutive, or do you need breaks in between, or?
That's a great question, too. What I've learned is I work best with 2 on, 30 minutes off, 2 on, 30 off. So if I was to try to do 4 in a row, my eyes have fatigued the most. They want away from the screen. So I need to go out and I need to look at distance to get away from the screen. And so
Wow.
2 on, 30 minutes off, I learned it works really, really well. 4 is where I'd like to be.
Hmm.
5 is uncomfortable. 6 is the top ceiling max.
Hmm.
This week, I think I had 3 7s and 1 8 in
Oh
there
my God! In a day, you met with eight
over
people?
over my limit. Over my limit, yes. And that's
Oh,
just the
yeah.
way things worked out. And I'm looking at this, and like last night, and the universe gave me a reprieve. And last night, I'm like, Jessica, do you know I have like 4 sessions in a row? Like my
Hmm.
eyeballs are going to melt. The cool thing is, and you've experienced this too, oftentimes when we're that overstacked, if we say it enough times, not complaining, wow, I've got 4 sessions. Wow, I've got 4 sessions. Oh, what's that email? Oh, I've got 3 sessions. Woohoo!
Yes,
Universe gives
exactly.
you a reprieve.
Yes, I've had that too because I actually had a session right after our phone call, and then it's like that kind of, it's like, well, I'm not the doer. I guess the universe wants me to read because I haven't read yet, even though it asked me to. So I'm like, okay.
Universe was funny though. So usually Mondays, somebody comes down sick, something happens, and I have an extra block of time on Monday. So that's where the week started off funny because Jessica was leaving Tuesday. I wanted to spend extra time with her Monday, and I said, "How do I book things?" And I said something to the effect of, "Should I play the bank shot?" I said, "I don't feel like doing that. The bank shot means you fill it with a little bit extra, like an airline does, and some people are going to cancel."
Oh my God, I
It
would
worked.
never do that.
And I said, I don't feel like we should do that because you're leaving on the flight tomorrow. She's like, no, it's a Monday. You know it's going to happen. Okay. Nope. Everybody plus showed up.
Wow.
And we have,
Plus, ay, ay,
yes.
ay.
But that's allowing into it and just allowing deeper and allowing deeper, kind of the theme for last week. But so I've set the intention so powerfully this week. And man, for everybody listening, Set your intention what you want the week to look like. Set your intention what you want the day to look like. We've got what, a month and a half left in the year. What do you want that to look like? What do you want the holidays to look like? Write it out, feel it out, and you can help kind of, I guess I'm going to go old school. Press the grooves in the record for the record you want to play for the rest of the year. So I got full for the week, so to speak, but I didn't get overwhelmed. And surprisingly, for the most part, I haven't gotten tired. I set the intention that it's going to all work out with total grace and ease. So you look at funny situations like that, and we had a house guest. He had to drive her to the airport because I
Oh.
full. And you're going, well, I guess it is. So Monday morning, I said, hi, I'll see you in a week and a half. And she wasn't leaving till Tuesday.
You know what? That's interesting though, is I've had times like that where there are times in my life, and sometimes there were just, for me at least, it doesn't sound like for you, but for me, it was just an issue of poor planning. Remember when I took like those three jobs and I was like doing everything at once, and I brought it on myself, and I think during that time, what I learned to do, or when I get really busy, I'm like, oh, I'm really busy. I don't go into the suffering part, like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I've got like four clients today, or like back to back clients, or like, oh my God, I was in back to back meetings all day. Like I'm just like, okay, it was full. And I think the thing that you're doing, which is like not suffering about it and just like, okay, like, because I think the more energy
So
you put
while you work.
into, huh?
So while you work.
Yeah, I think because the more you put energy into, like, oh my gosh, like you look at your calendar, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm booked the entire day. I think if you're like, well, looks like a full day. And like my son is going through one of those periods where probably the last 2 months he's just been back to back to back to back to back, like having no reprieve. I'm like, yeah, sometimes life is like that. And I guess the thing is that sometimes you'll have a really busy time and then it will slow down. So, oh, it's coming.
Yeah. Well, I
Thanksgiving
call it
is
a,
coming.
a self-correcting mechanism. Over time, it will balance. And
Yes.
we know that both we're going to have some volunteers coming on board, and we even look for more assistance from that to help balance the workload and figure out all of these pieces. We know I'll actually be reducing the hours of everything but the show. The show feeds everything, and God, I love the show. I love the show first and foremost. Coaching is a very dear second and a very close second. But I know that everything under the show will cut back a bit as I spend more time with Jessica and more time in baby planning mode. So
Yeah. Like exciting. It's very exciting. I just had I just had a reinvention workshop, and I or have one that I'm doing a workshop next week called the Reinvention Workshop, and I was doing a beta test or pilot in uh, my house with five other women who I meet with once a month, and one of the women is pregnant. And just kind of like, okay, so what is it that you want? How much time do you have? Like just going through that exercise. Because what happens is there's not a lot, there's so many moving pieces when you're pregnant and you're having a baby, but just kind of stopping and putting together a plan on like, what do we need to do? What does that look like? Having conversations and being conscious through it all would be an intentional would make such a huge difference. So I'm so glad that you guys are doing that because it makes a huge difference. And in some ways, what I see is happening, and I don't know whether it's by design or just kind of the universe is forcing you to look at this, is just what is your bandwidth? Because now you kind of know, like, if I do 8, I'm spent and I can't give as much the next day. I mean, for me, if I did 8 in a row, because at one point I just didn't know how many clients I could take.
mhm.
So I just kept on taking clients until it broke, until I literally broke. And at 50 clients a week, I thought, I literally had 50 clients a week
Oh my
and I couldn't do, I'm
God.
like, I can't do it. Like I'd look and I'm like, because the way that I like to do coaching is I remember everything. So
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you said this week, you said that last week, you said that another week. but when you have 50, you can't keep all the facts straight. So I'd go in and be like, okay, so, and literally this didn't happen, but it felt like this. Are you the one who has a mother that died recently? Just,
God.
just like, oh my God, like this is not the caring professional that you want. And then I couldn't keep the billing was so out of control. I'm like, didn't I bill you? Oh, wait, I forgot to bill you. I mean, it was just, so I realized that like 50 a week was just too much. But I needed to go through that to know how much was too much. And so, I mean, that's one of the beautiful things that you're kind of figuring it. I know that you figured out 232 as your kind of right sizing, but now you know that you can do maybe 232, 32. Like you maybe you could do a three
Mondays,
set.
Wednesdays, Mondays, Wednesdays, I do that. You're exactly right. Mondays, Wednesdays, I do 2 sessions on, 30 minutes off, 2 sessions on, 30 minutes off, and then I'm good and can get about the show or whatever else needs to take place. So I have learned that rhythm that works. I know somewhere much lower number than you. My mind is boggled by 50. I'm
It
at
was crazy.
14 to 17 clients a week is what I can fit while running a daily show.
Right.
More than that, I wouldn't be able to give of myself. And so I try to set to that number. I will wind that back. When you talk about intention, I'm so glad you brought this up. We get to be intentional about what the business looks like before the baby's born,
Yeah.
what it looks like after the baby's born, but also how much time do I want to spend with the unborn baby? We don't think about that. Oh, God, dad's just off doing his thing. No, we want an intentional birth as much as we can. And we are gifted. I almost feel guilty saying it, and that's something to look at. We feel gifted and that we can move our time around in theory to spend that time.
Right.
And how important is it to go for walks with Jessica, to talk as if the baby is there, to have these experiences pre-birth? And so we're setting the intention to be able to do that as well.
Yeah. The key thing is sleep. For the first 3 months is just having a sleep plan because that's the thing that I didn't realize. It's like it literally feels like torture because at least with Gideon who woke up with me sometimes like when the baby woke up, boom, I was up every single time. And so and the baby woke up quite a few times, so I was up like 2 or 3 times a night. And Gideon was able to sleep through it, but it was just figuring out a game plan so that one person at least could sleep every now and then, because otherwise, that's the thing that's actually torturous is figuring out how to do all of this and operate on very little sleep.
You know what's interesting? It's just fascinating, which is we sleep based on the cycles of the earth. And when it's lightest out, we sleep the least. If you go to sleep in the summertime, you need less sleep, it seems like. You wake more energized because the sun's up earlier. And the babies do basically on solstice. So on the brightest day of the year, which is going to mean you won't need technically because you're getting so much vitamin D. This is a great theory now. Talk to me on June 21st or July 4th, CJ. But I like the timing.
Yeah, well, I think you just need like good dear friend who is willing to just wake up on one of those baby crying moments, like a mom or a dad or auntie or whatever that just hangs out with you for the first at least 2 weeks and ideally a month. And then you can be like, okay.
I'm looking into what a used tiny home costs or a large towable RV to put in. We have plenty of space in the yard to put in so that we can have one of our, we call them fairy godmothers or somebody stay with us. It really does, and I'm really starting to understand this. It does take a village to raise a baby, to
It
raise a
does.
child. And so we want to call in that village. We don't want to try to do this all on our own and be just a mess because that's not best for baby.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you have a friend who loves babies, like if you lived in Seattle, I would I would be willing to watch a baby once a week because there's some people who are like, I miss my babies, the like the little precious little baby. I mean, I miss like whenever I see like a baby walking around in the airport and the parents are like, oh my God, I so want to go like, can I hold your baby? But then it looks too psycho. So I never say
Much better a girl than a guy asking
yeah,
that
exactly.
question.
But it's like if you just do so. I'm sure you have like an older person who is missing that baby energy, and just make sure to book a date night or date a time where that person comes during the day or the evening, where the two of you can just connect. Because I think that that's what we probably like the week after Jaida was born, and we're like, okay, we're going on a date night because we just kept on doing it for like our whole lives, actually,
Wow,
our whole
cool.
married lives, because it's so important, as important that the baby has two loving parents as it is that the baby has you there. Do you know what I mean? And if you don't take that time, it just doesn't happen. So that's my one tip, marriage tip is, and baby tip, right? Family tip. Make time, like, and it seems like we shouldn't be going on the babies, just the baby was just born. It's like still go on the day, go on the
And that
date.
is setting intention.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know why I did that is because I noticed that a lot of couples during that time, that's when the highest degree of conflict is and the highest degree of just processing. Like you're two people just processing other people through an experience. Like you're at a Disney ride, like, okay, you're on, you're off, you're on, you're off, you're on, like that kind of thing. And so you're like, and who are you? Oh, hi. It's kind of, and so if you don't take that time to honor the marriage, you have what I saw when I was coaching. I had two things I saw when I was coaching. And it was one of the best things that could happen to me is I was coaching a man who is in his 50s, and he had just sold a company for like a bajillion dollars, like, I don't know, like $100 million. He sold this company that he ran. And he was completely like, I don't know who my wife is anymore. Like we love our kids. But my kid is going to college now, and I don't even know who my wife is. And he's like, I don't even know how to begin to connect with her again because they had just grown so far apart. And so as a result of coaching, this guy is like, well, hell, that's not going to happen to us. Like we better like do something because
Yeah.
it's the baby is such a dividing, like it should be something that brings you together, but just working with children and putting together the schedules in your work life, it's so easy to get divided. But that was one of my blessings, is actually seeing, sorry for him but great for me, is seeing that you really need to invest in the marriage because it's an investment in the family too, for at least for me.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. So let's bring that around full circle and let's talk about investing in ourselves
Yes.
by doing some intention work
Yeah.
on our lives. And it's a question that's come up a lot with coaching clients recently is how do I set sail in a particular direction, or how do I make it so that I'm not just, I always talk about flowing like water, but I'm not flowing off into the rocks here or into the rocks there. How do I bring some structure to where I want to go? And I have a powerful tool that we share more in more detail in our programs, but I wanted to share here called the Woohoo 8,
Mm-hmm.
which is a technique. I think I described it to you maybe a couple years ago, real
Yeah.
briefly. It's a technique for helping set intention both on a daily basis and for your life. So Napoleon Hill, author Think and Grow Rich, he talks about writing out what your intentions are, keeping it on a 3x5 index card and reading it multiple times a day. To me, that doesn't have much energy to it. It can
Right.
work, and it's been very successful for people, but I want to get more emotion, more energy, more juice. And so I recommend that at least once a day, preferably morning, but you can do it before bed as well, to write out the essence of your intentions. And I put them in 8 different categories. And by the essence, I mean, how do you want it to feel?
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, if you say that I want to be healthy, what does that feel like? I want to have so much energy. I can get done everything I want to get done. I want to be able to eat mountains before breakfast. I want to feel so great that a cold doesn't stand a chance of
Mm-hmm.
chasing me down. That's kind of getting at the essence, getting at the energy behind it. And so each morning I encourage people to take 5 or 10 minutes. You can actually do it less. You can probably do it in a couple minutes. And to write down just a couple sentences, getting at the essence of 8 different categories. That's why I call it the Woohoo 8. And getting really excited, supercharged about it. That's why I go, woohoo! Or like you said, you're going to woohoo 8 times. Well, you're going to woohoo in each of your 8 categories because everything is energy. I consider us magicians. I consider us alchemists. We're creating from energy, about energy, and through energy, which means the more excitement and positive energy we bring to it, the easier it is to come about if it's for your highest good and the highest good of all. Key caveat. We can't be like Sisyphus and force the rock uphill or it'll roll right back over us.
Yep.
So 8 categories. I put them in terms of wealth. But I look at wealth as much more expansive than just financial.
Right.
Health wealth. Because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So you write about how great you see your health. I like putting it in present tense. There are no rules about it, but I get all excited. I see myself climbing up the hills and climbing up the mountains and flying on the bicycle, having incredible health, having incredible strength, feeling so rested when I get up in the morning. And there's a line from Dane here that I steer. He's been on the show a few times. How does it get any better than this? How does it get any? And I'm just so excited about it. Time wealth. Because as we're discussing here today, if you have money, even if you have your health, but you don't have any time, you don't have anything. It's all going to blow apart on you. Yeah. So you write about your time wealth. Then write about your abundance or financial wealth. And whatever that looks like to you, don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. We also often make our intentions small because we want to be polite and we're good spiritual people. Right. No, put it down there what you're looking for. Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. It's all energy. Then family and friends wealth. Because I just had a guest on the show talking about depression. And his book is called The Lost Connection. And if you can get him on your show, absolutely love him. Johan Hari. Okay. Absolutely love him. And brilliant, beautiful British accent, and has done so much research on this that he can just spin a yarn. And I was just on the edge of my seat for this whole thing. Lost connection. At the end of the day, if you don't have connections, then it doesn't even matter what you think you have for health wealth. You probably don't have that. And you're probably depressed or anxious because we are meant to be in a village. We are meant to have a tribe. We're not meant to be on our own. So family and friends wealth, and spiritual or inner wealth, something you have just been diving into this past year. And I'm following along behind you as well because it is so important to me. Everything's a spiritual experience. How much can I make life a walking, talking prayer? I get to do even better, but that's what I'm working on. Then business or career wealth. What are you trying to create for your business, for your job, for anything that is kind of being out there, a little bit more young in the world? What are you trying to do? But then creative wealth. If we don't take the time to create, and everything ebbs and flows, but if you don't take the time to create, we often feel unplugged from the universe. Why do I not feel good? Why is the texture different? Why does the whole world seem gray? And then you're like, oh, I used to paint. I used to draw. I used to be on the mic, whatever it is. And you go do that and you're like, wow, I'm inspired. I'm in spirit again. And then the last one, I kind of lumped together 3 beautiful things: home, nature, and travel wealth. What's your home like? How do you see your home being? How do you see it decorated? How do you want it to feel when you come home? How does it feel being out in nature? And can you take that time to be in nature? And then can you take that time to explore the world? Because there's something in our genetics that we almost all want to get out and be little explorers. So write that out, whatever you want it to look like. This, you can only do a couple. If you do just a couple sentences in each of these, each morning, you're now living more intentionally because your boss is going to come to you and he or she is going to say X, Y, or Z. If it's in line with your intentions, you're going to jump for it. If it's out of alignment, you're going to go, even the ones who are shy among us may say, no, doesn't feel right, or no, not now. Why? Because we've been writing down what's most important to us each and every day. So we are less wishy-washy. We're very clear. Does this take me toward where I want to go or farther away?
You know, it's funny when I because I'm a coach, I've done a lot of this attention work, and the body of work that I love that is completely resonating with the thing that you mentioned is that it's not only important to state it out loud, but the reason why mantras necessarily aren't necessarily the only thing that you want to do is because you want to visualize it, and that
Absolutely.
visualization, and you want to see yourself doing it because your brain doesn't know what the future you and the current you is. It just feels like you're doing it, even though, so those I am, the whatever I am having, abundance of time, let's say, is one of your statements. And you imagine yourself just, relaxing on the beach because you have abundance of time and feeling that sense of serenity and peace and joy and enjoyment of the present moment. And so the feeling and emotions coupled with the statement, coupled with the visualization, your body doesn't know that whether that's true or not, and it starts building the neural pathways so that that reality can become more and more the truth, so that you not only see that reality around you, but then it becomes a truth in your inner being because you've built a whole narrative scene of that whole situation. So the more you can build, like you said, every day, Joe dispenses all this research about how all the things that you mentioned are completely powerful. And to just reiterate what you said is when 3 years ago when I was taking on those 3 jobs, um, I wrote down, here's what I want in my work, and I literally filled out like very, 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 very clear ways that I wanted to feel, what it looked like, how, everything. And after a month and a half, I was like, this isn't working, and I'm not sure why. And I looked at the criteria and I was like, this is why. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. And interestingly, because I was applying for a job with friends of mine, I had said, like, here's what I'm interested in for the
Yeah.
next job. And so it was very easy. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I feel really bad. I think it's like 2 or 3 months. I can't remember how far, but it wasn't very long until I said, this just doesn't fit. And I could literally go through the criteria to say, like, this is what I was looking for. And I'm realizing it's just not a fit. And there was like a no harm policy because like I was very clear with what I wanted, and then when it wasn't there, it's like all of us could go, okay, that's fair, no hard feelings, don't take it personally, it's just not doing it for me. But having that intentional clarity and writing everything out and then comparing my experience to that helped me know like doesn't work. So just to add more actual real life experience of the thing that you mentioned, so true.
I, I love it. I couldn't agree more. And that visualization, you're living it. You're
Yep.
living it on paper. And when you do that, it has so much more of an oomph. It's taking a giant rock of attention. I call it throwing it into the pond of attention, intention, and
Hmm.
just the waves go out because you're living that experience. That's what
Yep.
I learned from sports psychologists 20 plus years ago. And they talked about with Olympic athletes and those going to the moon, when you play it in the mind, the body thinks it's been there.
Yeah, it doesn't know that it's not true. They have examples of people practicing scales, and even though they were paralyzed, and when they came back on, like they were amazed at how quickly they were able to get back and do those things because in their mind they're practicing scales or doing yoga. I've seen so many examples of people who were injured, but they kept on seeing themselves do yoga poses, even though they really weren't doing them in real life. But when their body came back online, they were hearing like, wow, you recovered so fast. How did you recover so quickly? And they're like, I've been doing yoga the entire time. They're like, what do you mean? They're like, in my mind.
I had a girlfriend a long time ago who was pro rodeo, and she did an event that was roping, and no animals were harmed in the making of this podcast.
Right.
But she would practice. She went to veterinary school, couldn't practice in real life, but she practiced in her head doing this roping event.
Mm.
And so she would walk to class, and you'd see her just running her arm around as if she was doing something.
Wow.
And she won, I guess it was like a Native American World Championships and rodeo the year after she got out of school
Wow.
from practicing it all in her mind,
Wow.
which is roping and roping and roping and roping
Wow.
in
Love it.
her head. So,
Yes.
so let's go from there. Let's talk real briefly about the power of a mission statement.
Okay.
And mission statement. So we're setting intention for the day, but we can also set an umbrella of intention over our lives. And so this can be kind of that guiding light. And it's something I say that you maybe start, write out a couple pages about what your mission is. Get it down to a page, get it down to a couple paragraphs, whittle it all the way down. Mine has gotten to, I guess, a couple sentences or less, maybe even a little bit less than that as far as the basics of it. It changes from day to day. I write it out each day rather than having it memorized or just reading it, because energy guides us a little bit different direction. So I'm trying to raise consciousness or elevate consciousness, raise people's vibration, and help shift humanity to a new level.
Oh,
Raise
nice.
consciousness. And so say that 10 times fast. Raise people's vibration, elevate consciousness, shift humanity to a new level. And then I say, by doing coaching through my show, through this, those change. I have the overarching umbrella. Today, it's running a show. Tomorrow, maybe it's doing something completely different, or maybe it's a TV show, or maybe it's I decide I just want to write books right now. But I have that overall umbrella of where I want to go. And if I write that out each day, it also makes it much easier, like your discussion with the people that you're working with, much easier to know, is this in alignment? Is this out of alignment?
Yeah, mine is to live, to love, to learn. That's it.
Woohoo! How can you go wrong with that?
Well, and it's not everyone's, but for me, if I to live, to love, to learn, to laugh actually is the one that I miss. So if I'm not laughing, I'm like, it's just not worth it for me anymore. I don't know. I mean, this is just something that I've evolved over time. And if I'm not having fun, it's like, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it anymore. It's kind of that's my line that I do not cross anymore.
So if you were in a position, or you're working your 3 jobs at the same time again, and you said that the funny bone has gone quiet.
Yeah, no, it's like, this is just not fun for me. If I'm like, I'm not having fun, I'm more miserable. And of course, there are going to be days where you're not having fun or you're not really liking it. But if you look over like moment after moment, each meeting that you have, you're like, this is just not fun for me, then that's when I'm like, okay, I'm done. And I just pull out. And there was a part of me that would never have done that before, because it's so irresponsible. You've made a commitment. And a lot of these things, I did not make a commitment, but still, like, you feel bad pulling out. But still, I like, living true to your mission sometimes means disappointing other people. And that's the way it is.
The only way to make room for yes is to say no. And when you say no to others, you make room for your highest good. You are meant to do something while you're here. And if you're doing everything for everyone, are you really doing that? Live, love, learn, and laugh.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you something funny that relates to my last thing on the list. So I have been getting hot flashes, which hopefully Jessica never gets, but she may. And what happens, I don't know if I told you, but, at 12 o'clock, throw open the sheets, I'm hot, put them back on, I'm freezing. 3 o'clock, same thing. It's 5 o'clock. So I'm waking up 3 times a night, just having awful sleep. And so I've been looking at getting hormone replacement therapy, which has all sorts of facts and figures, both positive and negative. And the net of it is basically you look at the pros and you look at the cons and you look at the likelihood of both and then decide. So when I actually did the analysis, I decided to go to do estrogen replacement therapy. After trying the natural stuff, it didn't sort of work, but not enough. So I went to this gal, and the appointment was the doctor was running 1 hour late, which is really pretty late, So I thought, well, this is not starting off on a good place. And then she was kind of rushed, and each time she came in and she was like, hey, so I want to talk to you about this. Boom. And like literally the notebook fell on the ground. It was really loud, and I was like, Jesus, what is the story with this notebook?
And you're going to be in charge of my hormones.
I was just like,
they're already raging.
Exactly. Like, I'm scared. And then she was like going through all this stuff, and there was just like a non-stop, like turning a page. And here's another thing. You need to look at this, and then you need to look at that, and then you look at this, and then we test you on this. And I was like, wow, that seems like a lot. And she's like, well, let me have my colleague come in and tell you more about the payment plan and more. And the colleague came in and she's like, okay. And she took like a little box out and she's like, okay, so we're going to send you this. And this is the thing that you need to read. And when you do this, you need to do this. And then after that, you have to do this. And then you have to do that. And I was like, okay. I have a really high bandwidth, but I'm understanding all this stuff, but I'm getting super impatient. Like, do I have a chance to talk? What the hell's happening here? Can I go now? I don't know what's happening. My intuition is like,
Is it recess?
yes, it's just like yellow and red, flurry of exclamation point, question marks, just swirling around my head. And then I thought, well, my intention was to come in here and just get hormones. I don't want to like measure my brain, and I don't want to look at my thyroid. And I don't want to look at, I know that all these things would be helpful, but I'm doing all these things and other types of things that I'm doing, and I feel like I'm all set. And and as I'm saying this, all of a sudden there's like, mer, 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 woo! Like a fire engine comes through. There's basically a fire alarm that goes off in the whole building. And I'm like,
If ever there was a sign from the universe, you're done.
And I thought, well, that made it easy. Now I have an easy way. And because she said, what are you thinking? And I said, it feels like, I said, I don't really know. I said, it feels like I'm at a used car sales place. I mean, I don't mean to be, but it feels like you're throwing information at me. You're throwing notebooks at me. You're telling me all this stuff. I haven't had a really chance to talk, but I just am not feeling good about all of this. And then the alarm went off. And then I looked at her and I was like, I can't. And I was sitting there waiting for them to go through and deal with whatever the fire emergency was. And then I walked up and I said, I think I need to leave. But it was one of those things that the universe just kind of, we were just talking about the universe bringing stuff to you, but I was really clear with the intention. And even sometimes when you won't course correct or say no definitively, or you're not sure, the universe seems to be able to help you out on that one.
It goes along with what I like people to tack on, and I tack on to the end of intention statements. For my highest good, for the highest good of all, or something better.
Right.
You got the or something better, which means I'm not attached. This is what I came in for hormones. I'm not attached. The universe is saying this is not the right place to get your hormones. We'll make that abundantly clear for you. Every which way.
It's just hilarious. I'm like, okay. I don't know why I didn't get it until the third one, but because I just didn't want to walk out and say like, you're an hour late. That's really late. Instead I was like, it's okay. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry I'm late. And I was like, it's okay. And then but I was really like, an hour? Like, that's a lot. Like, unless someone was dying and you were attending to them, like, this kind of bad management is not acceptable, frankly, to me. Anyhow, so tell me a little bit. We didn't cover your birdseed gone bonsai and mice in love. Can we cover that in the next couple minutes?
Let's see, real quickly. So first off, mice in love. We've got a no-kill policy here for mice. No-kill policy for anything.
Right.
And I've been rescuing mice with a live trap, and then escorting them because it's wintertime. So I guess they're all coming in to stay warm here, and then escorting them many hills away from here. Although we got spotted doing this on one of the hills a few weeks ago, so we can't go back to that spot. We're dropping off mice in the fields.
How many mice were there?
Oh, that time there were 3. We've probably caught somewhere between 15 and 20 right now in the last few weeks. And I have 2 downstairs in a fish tank that got too cold in the garage when they got into a trap. And so I had to warm them back up over a day or two. And then a third one who I released earlier. Don't tell Jessica. I released nearby because it's cold out and I wanted to find someplace safe.
Right.
I'm like, maybe it got so freaked out by being trapped in the house it won't want back in the house.
Right.
I don't know what to do. I have a heart of gold. Aww. I've got mice in an aquarium who are not enjoying it there. Then there's supposedly viruses that they can be carrying around here, which you don't really want to get exposed to, especially with the baby. And so I'm going to, if I can make it after my last coaching session, go to the pet store and say, have you experienced anybody in my conundrum? Because most people are just not as kind
Yeah,
with
they
the
get a
mice.
mice trapper to basically trap the mice and take
Yeah,
them out. Yeah.
exactly. So I haven't figured that out, but I've got two downstairs to figure out, and it seems I'm getting right now one new one a day.
Oh,
So I
Michael.
have to
Oh,
figure out a
wow.
solution to how
Well,
to.
there's a thing called your kitties.
No, I know, and that's the thing. I'm buying a can with something killed in it. I get it, but mice in many ways are as intelligent as cats and dogs.
Yeah.
And they're a mammal. They have the same emotions, same feelings, same expressions, the words. I can't do it.
Yeah,
And
I
so I
get it.
don't know the solution for that. So I'm working on it. There has to be an answer, particularly I can't drop them off when it's below freezing out because then they don't have a time if there's someplace that they don't know where they know where their burrow is so they can go get warm. They don't exactly pack much insulation on a mouse.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
So
that's
that's one thing.
hard. Okay, and what's
Then we
happening with
have
your birds?
birds have been coming like crazy. And so I got some more bird feeders. One of them fell down a couple of days ago, a brand new bird feeder, because when the hummingbirds left, they made room for birds who figured out we're nuts and we'll feed them as much as we can. It's hard. It's all hard, CJ. And so they've been showing up by the flock. And particularly these things called winter chickadees, which are these little
Oh,
gray,
they're
white,
so cute.
black birds.
Yeah.
And so the bird feeder fell. I picked it up, and this happens with me in birdseed apparently. I'm examining things as I'm spilling out the seed from the other side. And I'm like, do I have to pick this up? And I'm like, I'm just gonna bring the bird feeder inside and see what happens. And the birds are just enjoying the smorgasbord
Oh, yeah, they're
on
like
the deck. They're
going
like, we don't need
berserk.
a feeder. So it's the coolest thing, and we're gonna probably have birds all through the winter now. So
Oh,
so it's the
fun.
latest in our saga of surrounding ourselves with as many animals as we can.
Oh, beautiful. Well, the intention is love and safety and protection and security. Again, living an intentional life, and here we are doing the same. I love it. That's so sweet.
And any last words you want to share as the green screen is encroaching from all directions, CJ?
Oh, I didn't see this corner here. No, yes, it is. The green machine will eat you.
That's okay.
Okay, it's done. Good. I'm good. How about you? What any last words for you?
Well, there's one topic we didn't cover, so we can cover that as my last words,
Okay.
which is setting an intention of bringing love to everyone in your day. If you say, my mission is love, my mission today, my intention is to see how much love can I bring to everyone that I meet. Everyone, even the guy asking for a quarter on the corner, who, whatever, and I send him all the love in the world, but you get it. Every single one. The person who honks and give you the monodigital response, every single one. If you send love, if that's your mission and you set that as an intention before you head out for the day, that my mission is love today, it will change everything. You will rock your own world today
Mm,
by doing so.
I love it. You know what? I have to talk to, I'm going to put two things down that I want to talk about next week. One is
Yep.
an airplane ride that I had with someone, and we talked all about our different political views in a way that was interesting. And then the other was a homeless person that I've been communicating with. And I want to
Yeah, yeah,
share,
yeah.
yeah, I want to actually share that. So I'll put those down as my two things next week.
I thought of it after I helped out with whatever I had in the car, a homeless gentleman earlier this week. And I came home and was thinking about what I said here. And I said, it never occurred to you. It occurs with everybody else. It never occurred to you with this gentleman to give him a hug.
Hmm.
Why not?
Hmm.
And I think that's going to be a game changer for me because I love hugging people.
Hmm.
And everybody that I want to work with, I think of what's the huggability factor.
Yeah, I think that actually this homeless woman, I gave her a hug because she was just
Thank
so
you.
sad and it was huge. I think just for her to know that she's a person that other people care about was so huge for her, more than the soup or I mean, we've given her food too, but I think that that was the thing that she probably appreciated most is me stopping every now and then and talking to her and then giving her a hug. So,
When it's so easy to go to a place of judgment, and I challenge everybody not to. I remember when I had broken up with my fiance, somebody pre-Jessica,
Hmm.
and I had gotten back like a necklace or something like that. And there was a beautiful homeless woman in the corner, in the corner of the street who I saw every day. And one day I decided to lighten myself, to shift, move past this, and I gave her the necklace,
No,
and
sweet.
it made her day. And I found out she passed away only a few weeks later.
Oh,
And so you
hmm.
never know what's going on in somebody's life. And if you
Yeah.
can make even a minute's difference in their life, it makes all the difference for them. And as I was discussing with Johan about lost connections, they've done experiments. You give somebody $10. If that $10 is spent on yourself, you feel one level of goodness. You take that $10 and you help somebody else out. You'll remember it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. Okay, I have to interview this guy, Johan Harry. Is that what you? Anyway,
Sorry,
send me.
yes.
Yeah, send me the information. All right. So,
I
any
think we've
last
covered
words
it.
for you?
Mission be love, but let's not exclude the most important person in the world, me. No. I'm sorry, everybody. I couldn't resist. I can't even say that with a straight face, though. Whoever is listening to this, are the most important person in the world. Put the oxygen mask on you first. Love yourself up like there's no tomorrow, and make the mission be love for you and intentional love yourself up like there's no tomorrow day ahead, and you will truly be living an intentional life.
Woohoo!
So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
saying be well, have fun, live intentionally in every way, shape, or form you can, and above and beyond all else, shine bright.
Woohoo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.